All right, my biggest issue, I told BJ, is I got to stand in one spot. I'm the fourth of four kids. I was the youngest. I was a spaz. My poor parents. So, but all that's great what BJ said. But I've had the pleasure the last 32 years to be able to serve in a lot of different ministries, a lot of capacities, to be able to go around locally and globally and share the message about Jesus. And there's nothing special about me. Anytime I speak, I always say it's not the messenger, it's the message. So I think this is really cool. Just so you know, I mean, I do work in the space you guys are in. So I'm in insurance and I get to work with companies. Not too many companies do this. What I mean, have a devotion on a Friday, and I got to see some of the stuff that Dallas One has done over the years, working in the community. It's pretty dang cool. I don't know if you guys realize that. Some of you probably come from other employers, but when they told me what they did, I was like, heck yeah. They're like, would you want to come? I'm like, that's awesome. So so today, and I mean, I watched some of the videos, what you guys they've shared in the past, and you know, we all like good stories. We all tell stories. I know my family, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we get together and tell stories. Jesus was no different. He shared a lot of stories, and in fact, the stories he shared were called parables. And he used parables a lot of times to make a point. And that point wasn't to tell a story and people to walk away and go, well, that was a cute, you know what a great story, and just walk away. The stories he told them to get a response from people. He did it. It was a theological speech. It was very theological, but it was done in a way to evoke a response out of people. And we see that in the Gospels. And I think some of the videos, I think you guys have done the Good Samaritan. Some of the other famous parables, the lost, the prodigal, Luke 15, lost sheep, lost coin, lost son. One of the parables in Luke 12, the setting, what's going on is Jesus is teaching. Thousands of people have come to hear him. Where we're at in Luke, this is 3 years into his ministry, so he's almost done. So people know who he is, know what he can do. They've come to hear him. In this spot in Luke 12, a guy comes up to Jesus, and basically, we don't know who, it doesn't tell us who he is. It just says a petitioner. Well, let's call him Carl. Carl comes up and says, hey, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me. Now, this is interesting because here you have a person walking up to God, telling him what to do. If you have kids, I relate this as parents, you probably have had your kids come in the room and say, Dad, tell Jimmy to give me the ball. Or tell me. And if you only have one kid, you may not be as seasoned as a parent that has several kids, because you start to figure out one of your kids probably had the ball for hours, and now the other kid's got it. This is what's going on. This is a brother telling Jesus, tell my brother to give me my money. And so now here's his response. He says, man, who appointed me a judge or arbiter over you? And then he goes on to say, and he said to them, now I could imagine, here's Carl standing there going, hey, could you tell my brother to divide? And it's probably land is what they're wanting to divide. So we've got some land, and you know what? And I'm so glad family disputes died a couple thousand years ago, right? Because that never happens, right? You guys probably don't have any of that in your family. So we've got a family here where brothers probably don't get along. And this one brother's like, hey, so he tells them, divide the land up. Here's Jesus' response. He goes, Jesus said to them. So I can imagine he's probably looking at Carl and he goes, look, beware and be on guard against every form of greed. Some translations talk about covetousness or an insatiable desire. He says, be on guard against this, for not even when one has an abundance does his life consist of his possessions. So let me translate that. He's probably he looks at Carl and he goes, I know what you want. He goes, you already have a lot and you have an insatiable desire for stuff. If you get more stuff, is that going to satisfy your needs? What does insatiable mean? Can't be satisfied. So Jesus knows this guy's heart, and he was asking him, hey, divide the land. He knows what's in his heart, and he turns to Carl and he goes, your life is not based on the stuff that you have. So it started out a guy asking him to divide the land. Now here Jesus goes to tell a story. He hasn't answered him yet. Now he starts to tell a story. He says, and he told them a parable. He says the land of a certain rich man was very productive. Now, we don't know how the guy got rich. We just know he's rich and he's got some land and it's been very productive. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if anybody's ever gotten an inheritance. I actually got one several years ago from a grandma. I had no idea she had any money. Parents showed up. They handed me an envelope and I was like, what is this? They're like, oh, your grandma left you some money. Had no idea. Now, when they handed me that money, I didn't go, dang right, I earned it. That's not what an inheritance is it? You don't earn it, do you? It's a gift, right? It's a gift. And usually you're not like, what is this? Like, oh, so this rich man has some land. Now, I know we're far removed from farming, but did anybody grow up, parents, grandparents have a farm? Do any kind of, okay. When you're doing farming, you're at the mercy of what? We just got, what did we get yesterday? A bunch of what? A bunch of rain. There's some good years and some bad years, aren't there? So you can't control the weather. Who controls what goes on? God. So this rich man has had a very productive harvest because what? He's just so good? Because God. But here's what he says. Listen. So here's what the guy did. He began to reason with himself, saying, listen to the pronouns. See if you pick up on it. What shall I do, since I have no place to store my crops? What shall I do with all my stuff, with all this harvest? He said, now he's reasoning to himself, this is what I will do. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I will store all my grain and my goods. Did you pick up on the pronouns? I, me, my. You know what it reminds me of? Well, this reminds me of when my kids were little. If any of you have little kids, if you put your phone or keys or wallet down where your 2 or 3-year-old can get it and they grab it, whose is it then? Oh yeah, what do they say? It's like the birds from Finding Nemo. Mine! Right? And then you chase them around the house trying to get your phone. It's mine. This sounds like your mine, me, mine. So this guy, there's nothing here that says, I've had this bumper crop. BJ was talking about Echo and some other ministries here that you guys support. There was never, you know what, gosh, I got 100 acres. I only need 20. I got plenty. I wonder if someone like Echo could use some additional funds. Probably can. None of that dawns on this guy. So then he says, I will say to my soul, soul, you have many goods laid up for many years to come. Now it says, take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. So he's saying, man, I've got so much laid up for the future. I can just sit in my man cave, watch the Bucks, order up some wings and pizza. I'm set. And he's talking about his whole self. He's saying, soul, I've arrived. I've got it. But verse 20, now Jesus turns. This is God himself talking. Here's what he says. But God said to him, you fool. Uh-oh. Remember how this story started. Hey, tell my brother, Carl comes up, tell my brother, give me the share of my inheritance so I can cash out. And Jesus goes, now this rich man, now here's what he tells him. He says, you fool. This very night your soul is required of you, and now who will own what you have prepared? Now, we think this guy, there's never been a talk of family. He's probably alone. So he spent his lifetime doing this, amassing. Now, if you guys came to my funeral and they loaded me up in the hearse, and then all of a sudden they said, and they hooked up a U-Haul to the hearse, would you have some questions? Would you go, would you be like, what's with the U-Haul? You know, oh, he's taking it with him. He's like, he's taking it with him? So, oh, he's got a mausoleum. We're going to shove it in there. Great, because that place is probably going to get ransacked pretty soon. So this guy, he's built his whole life on putting all these possessions. And what just happened to this guy? God says, you fool, tonight your soul's required. What happened? He died. Now what? Now what? Oh, okay. Well, if he's got no family, what? I mean, so you see, Jesus is making this point, and look how he ends it. He goes, so is the man who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. So here's something that, working for Dallas One, and watching what Mr. Azzarelli, how he started this company. So there's two things going on here, and this is how Jesus taught a lot. When you go back into like the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus gives two options. There's two roads. There's a wide road that leads to destruction, narrow road that leads to life. Two trees, two foundations. You guys know something about foundations. One built on the rock and one on the sand. Don't want to build it on the sand. Now there's two different economies. So he's saying Carl came up and asked to have more stuff, and the rich man, he's got a bunch of stuff, but he's just been rich towards what? Himself. Jesus is saying you need to be rich toward God. And here's the two different things going on here. I call it the pond in the river. Now, we almost have some ponds out here from all the rain. Here's what I mean. If you've ever been to a pond, water gets in, but does water get out? And when you go to a pond, stagnant water, algae, right? Okay. When you go to a river, water's coming in and water's what? Going out. It's moving, right? So here's the whole idea. And watching, when Mr. Azarelli started Dallas One, he understood this, that his company wasn't his own. And in fact, let me read you this. This is right out of First Chronicles. This is King David. Everything in the heavens and earth is yours, O Lord, and this is your kingdom. Did you catch that? Everything is yours. We adore you as the one who's over all things. Wealth and honor come from you. You alone are the ruler over all mankind. Power and might are in your hands, and it's at your discretion. People are made great and given strength. So Mr. Azarelli, when he started this company, he did this right here. He said, it's your company. You're going to put day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. You're going to provide for this company. As long as I stand with that open hand and I be the river, God's going to continue to provide. And we're going to build into people. Because here's the thing. There's only three things that survive eternity. God, his word, and you know what the last one is? People. So Dallas One decided years ago, guess what they're going to invest in? People. People. You guys have done mission trips. I heard you went to Jamaica. Did any of you, who went to Jamaica? Yep, okay. So when you go to Jamaica, did these people go, who in the world, why would you take a week off of work to come here? Didn't you build a house or something? You're building someone a house. They don't know you. Why would you do that? Because of what Mr. Azarelli started this company on. He realizes God owns it all. I want to be the river. I don't want to be the pond. See, I call this givers and takers. You can be a taker, and your kids act like that. We act like that. When your kid closes his fist, and you close your fist, you can't put anything in it, can you? But when you do this, God can put into your hand, and then you can be that river, you can be that blessing, you can be a giver. And so this is what Dallas One started. I think this is how they started their company, and I think this is what they've continued to do. So you guys are very fortunate. So I wanted to encourage you. I think Dallas One has set a good example. Your equipment says what? Serving what? Well, if the rich guy owned it, it would say serving self. But instead it says serving Christ. So you guys get the opportunity to serve the community, and you get a chance to be the river. So I'm here to encourage you. This is what Jesus wanted his listeners and the readers. He says, don't be Carl. Don't be the rich man. That all they did was they lived for themselves. And I had somebody tell me this years ago. At first I was like, and it makes sense. He goes, you'll never find the meaning to life in life. And this rich man was trying to find the meaning to life in what? His stuff. And it's never going to happen. So I'm here to encourage you today to be a giver, not be a taker. Sound good? All right, let me pray. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for your word. And I just want to encourage these men. What a great company to work for that does these devotions on Friday, and that not only says that they love their employees, but shows it. And we just thank you for what you did, sending your son to live and die for us in our place. He paid my debt, all of our debts. No, there's nothing special about me. It's all special about you. So I just pray today your blessing on these men, this job site, to keep them safe, and help us to be that river. Help us as you provide the possessions and the needs, and you meet our needs every day. We can be that river, and we can be that blessing here in our community. We thank you. We love you. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen. Guys, thank you.